Winter 2025 is coming, and if NOAA's predictions are even half right, it's going to be brutal. Seniors aren't waiting around, they're stockpiling by the crate. Why? Because they've lived through disasters like the Texas grid collapse, Quebec's ice storm, and the Midwest Blackout of 2024. They know what it takes to survive when the power's out, the roads are frozen, and stores are empty. In this video, I'm breaking down 12 survival items seniors over 55 never forget to stockpile, and trust me, number 7 will have you running to the store. From a $1 grocery item you probably threw out last week to the old-school tool-saving lives in sub-zero Alaska, these aren't your typical prepper tips. Drop a comment, what's disappearing in your town? Batteries? Candles? I'll feature the best replies in next week's video. Don't forget to subscribe so you're ready when winter hits. Let's get into it. 1. Cold hard cash, the lifeline you forgot you needed. When was the last time you actually used paper money? For most people, it's been years. But seniors? They've got it stashed, 5s, 10s, and 20s. Not because they're old-fashioned, but because they've seen what happens when the power goes out and the digital world collapses. Think back to Texas in 2021. The power grid failed, ATMs froze, card readers were useless, and banks were locked up tighter than a vault in Fort Knox. For 5 days, cash was king. If you didn't have it, you were out of luck, eating cold beans and hoping someone would take your Venmo request. Spoiler alert, they didn't. Seniors know better. They've lived through it. Marge from Buffalo 68 put it best. You can't bribe a snowplow driver with Apple Pay. And she's right. When your driveway is buried under 2 feet of ice and the roads are impassable, the guy with the plow isn't checking his phone for PayPal notifications. He's looking for crisp bills in his hand. AARP reports that 73% of seniors over 65 keep at least $300 in small bills on hand. Not because they're paranoid, but because they're prepared. Younger folks? They'll say, I'll just tap my phone. Cool. Tell that to the gas station generator that's out of fuel or the diner running on candlelight. Cash talks when everything else goes silent. Here's the pro tip. Keep your cash in a fireproof tin, a locked box, or a hidden spot. But don't be that person who stuffs it in the sock drawer. Mold and sadness are not what you want to find when you need it most. Keep it dry, keep it safe, and keep it accessible. Small bills are key. Nobody's breaking a $100 bill for a gallon of gas in a blackout. When the wind howls, the power's out, and the world feels like it's falling apart, cash is your lifeline. It's not just money, it's survival. And seniors? They've got it figured out. 2. Candles, the old-school light that never fails. Forget your fancy lavender-scented Instagram-worthy candles. When the power goes out, those $28 ambience makers are about as useful as a chocolate teapot. Seniors know better. They stock up on the thick, ugly dollar store candles that burn for hours and don't care about aesthetics. Why? Because when the lights go out, those candles become your heater, your flashlight, and your sanity all rolled into one. Let's talk facts. In 2024, a Red Cross report revealed that 68% of seniors over 60 relied on real wax candles during power outages. Not for romance, but for survival. When the power's out and your LED lights are dead because you forgot to charge them, those candles are the difference between stumbling in the dark and finding your way to the bathroom at 3 a.m. Gladys from Manitoba, a 72-year-old survival pro, has a system. She lines her candles up in mason jars. It's not just for looks. It cuts the fire risk and doubles as a makeshift lantern. She says it feels like a spa. Sure, if spas had no running water and you wore 3 sweaters. But hey, it works. Younger folks might say, I've got battery-powered tea lights. Cute. Until day 3 when the batteries die and you're sitting in the dark, whispering to Alexa who can't hear you. Candles don't need charging, don't need Wi-Fi, and don't judge you for eating cold soup in your coat. They just burn. Slow, steady, and reliable. Pro tip, stock up on the cheap ones. The kind that smell like nothing and leave wax puddles everywhere. Stick them in jars or cans to minimize fire hazards. And don't just buy a couple, buy them by the bucket. When the polar vortex hits and the world goes dark, you'll be glad you did. 3. Plastic bags, The survival tool you're overlooking. Plastic grocery bags. You probably toss them without a second thought. But seniors? They hoard them like gold. Not the fancy reusable totes or designer canvas bags. We're talking about the flimsy, crinkly, free plastic bags you used to get at every store before the eco-revolution made them a rarity. Seniors know their value, and when winter chaos hits, you'll wish you had a stash. Why? Because when pipes burst, and they will, plastic bags are your first line of defense. Wrap a leaking pipe in a few layers of plastic, and you've got a temporary fix that buys you time. No midnight Home Depot runs in a blizzard. No flooded kitchen. Just a simple, effective solution. But that's not all. Plastic bags are the Swiss Army knife of survival. They become emergency toilet liners when the sewer backs up. They catch snowmelt under drafty doors. They're makeshift gloves when you're shoveling ice with bare hands. And they're even food wrappers when your containers freeze shut. One Reddit user on RR Survival Over 60 shared how they used 8 plastic bags to patch a window crack during minus 30-degree winds. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. And that's the point. Plastic bags aren't about style, they're about survival. Here's the move. Ask for extras at the store. Keep a roll in your trunk, one under your bed, and one in your glove box. They take up no space, cost nothing, and last forever if kept dry. When the ice hits and the world cracks open, you'll be the one with the plastic, and the only one not panicking. 4. Instant coffee, the gritty gold of survival. When the power's out, the winds are howling, and your toes feel like icicles, there's one thing that can pull you back from the brink: coffee. Not your fancy oat milk lavender cold brew or the artisan beans roasted by a guy named Silas. We're talking about instant coffee. The dusty brick hiding in the back of your pantry. The kind that tastes like burnt dirt but works like magic. Seniors stock up on it every fall like clockwork. Why? Because they know that when the power's out for 72 hours and your espresso machine is a useless hunk of metal, instant coffee is your lifeline. Just add hot water and you've got a steaming cup of sanity. AARP's 2025 Winter Mental Health Report found that 89% of isolated seniors ranked hot coffee as their #1 comfort during blackouts. Not blankets. Not soup. Coffee. That warm cup isn't just caffeine, it's calm. It's control. It's proof that you're still human when the world feels frozen and broken. Younger folks might say, "I need my espresso machine." Cool! Tell that to the dead outlet or the generator that ran out of gas. Instant coffee doesn't need electricity, milk, or a $300 machine. Just hot water, a mug, and a spoon. And in 2025's weird winter, hot water might come from a camp stove, a fireplace kettle, or melted snow. But it'll come. And so will your coffee. Pro hack: mix it with hot cocoa powder for a survival hot chocolate that tastes better than it should. Keep jars of instant coffee in your kitchen, your car, and your go bag. Rotate them so they don't turn into concrete. Label them emergency brain fuel. Laugh now, but when your phone's dead, your heat's gone, and your dog's wearing 3 sweaters, you'll be glad you did. Seniors know the truth. Fancy coffee is a luxury. Instant coffee? That's survival. It's the quiet voice whispering, "You've got this." Even when the world outside is screaming, you don't. 5. Wool socks, the unsung winter warriors. Forget the trendy, colorful socks influencers flaunt on social media. Wool socks are the real MVPs of winter survival, and seniors have known this for decades. They don't care about matching patterns or cute designs. They care about staying alive when the temperature drops and the power goes out. Wool socks are not just a fashion statement, they're a survival tool. Here's the deal: wool is a natural insulator. Unlike cotton, which absorbs moisture and holds onto it like a sponge, wool keeps you warm even when it's wet. Cotton socks in winter? That's a rookie mistake. They'll soak up sweat, stay damp, and suck the heat right out of your body. Wool, on the other hand, doesn't play by those rules. Whether you're trudging through slush, dealing with frozen boots, or just trying to stay warm in a drafty living room, wool socks will keep your feet toasty. Seniors stockpile these chunky, scratchy, and often ugly socks like they're preparing for an Arctic expedition. And honestly, they're onto something. In the weird winters of 2025, where power outages and extreme cold are the norm, your feet are the first to feel the chill. Numb toes can quickly lead to frostbite or worse. Wool socks act as your first line of defense. The Canadian Hypothermia Task Force has even weighed in. Cotton socks lose heat 3 times faster than wool. That's not just a statistic, it's a survival tip. Seniors know this, which is why their sock drawers are filled with thick, misshapen wool socks that have seen better days. Some are decades old, some have holes, and some smell faintly of mothballs, but they all work. If you're serious about surviving winter, don't just buy 1 or 2 pairs. Stock up. 10 pairs minimum. Layer them if you have to. Sleep in them. Keep a pair in your car, another in your emergency kit, and maybe even one under your pillow. Wool socks don't need batteries, apps, or updates. They just work. When the storm hits and your space heater fails, you'll be glad you listened. 6. Manual can opener, the low-tech lifesaver. In a world obsessed with high-tech gadgets, the humble manual can opener often gets overlooked. But when the power goes out, and it will during the unpredictable winters of 2025, this little tool becomes a lifesaver. Seniors know this, which is why they never let go of their old-school hand-crank can openers. Think about it. Your fancy electric can opener is useless without electricity. And when you're staring at a pantry full of canned goods during a blackout, you'll quickly realize the value of a manual opener. During the 2024 Ohio ice storm, over 400,000 homes were without power for days. People resorted to smashing cans with hammers or stabbing them with knives, often injuring themselves in the process. Meanwhile, seniors calmly twisted their manual openers and had dinner ready without breaking a sweat. A manual can opener doesn't rely on batteries, Wi-Fi, or software updates. It works in total darkness, freezing temperatures, and even with shaky hands. It's a simple tool, but it's incredibly effective. Seniors often keep multiple can openers, one in the kitchen, one in the car, and one in their emergency kit. They know that redundancy is key when it comes to survival. If you're buying one, don't skimp on quality. Those flimsy dollar store versions won't last. Invest in a heavy-duty model with a sturdy crank and sharp blades. Test it once a year to make sure it's still functional. And for the love of all things practical, don't throw it away just because it looks old. That twirly metal dinosaur could be the difference between a full belly and a very long, hungry night. 7. Batteries, the silent heroes of survival. Batteries might not be the most exciting item on your survival checklist, but they're absolutely essential. Seniors understand this better than anyone, which is why they stockpile batteries like they're gold. And in the weird winters of 2025, they might as well be. When the power goes out, the devices that keep you safe and informed, flashlights, radios, smoke detectors, run on batteries. During the 2024 Northeast Blackout, the only reliable source of news came from battery-powered radios. Social media, apps, and even emergency alerts were useless without electricity or cell service. Seniors, however, were prepared. They had shoeboxes full of batteries, neatly organized and ready to go. Younger folks often rely on their phones for everything, including flashlights. But here's the thing. Cold weather drains phone batteries faster than you can say low power mode. When your phone dies, you'll be left in the dark, literally. That's why having a stash of OA, AACD, and even those weird flat batteries for carbon monoxide detectors is crucial. Seniors don't just buy batteries, they rotate them like military rations. They label the purchase date, store them in cool, dry places, and replace them every couple of years. They even tape spare batteries to smoke detectors so they're easy to find in an emergency. It's a level of preparedness that might seem excessive until you're fumbling through a junk drawer in the middle of a blackout. Pro tip, buy batteries in bulk and on sale. Keep a stash in your car, your coat, and your emergency kit. When the lights go out and the silence becomes deafening, those little metal cylinders will be your lifeline. 8. Paper maps, your analog GPS. In the age of smartphones and GPS, paper maps might seem like relics of the past. But when the satellites go down, and NOAA warns they might during the extreme solar activity of 2025, those old-school maps could be your only way to navigate. Seniors know this, which is why they always keep a few folded maps in their glove box. Digital maps are great, until they're not. During last year's Vermont whiteout, dozens of drivers followed their GPS into unplowed back roads and got stranded for hours. Some ended up in ditches, others had to be rescued. Seniors, on the other hand, pulled out their trusty paper maps, found alternate routes, and made it home safely. Paper maps don't need batteries, Wi-Fi, or a functioning touchscreen. They work in total darkness with a flashlight, in freezing temperatures, and even when your hands are shaking from the cold. They're reliable, durable, and incredibly useful in emergencies. If you don't already have one, get a state road map, a county map, and maybe even a topographic map if you live in a rural area. Keep them in your car, not buried under a pile of receipts and fast food wrappers. Tape one to your sun visor for easy access. If you're feeling fancy, laminate it to make it waterproof. Highlight major highways, circle gas stations, and mark safe routes. Seniors don't trust the cloud. They trust creased paper with tiny red highways and town names you've never heard of. And when your GPS fails and you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, you'll be glad you took their advice. 9. Hard candy, sweet survival in a crisis. When you think of survival gear, hard candy probably doesn't make the list. But for seniors, it's a non-negotiable. Not the fancy, sugar-free, or artisanal kind wrapped in gold foil. We're talking about the cheap, sticky butterscotch discs or peppermint rounds that come in bulk bags and have been sitting in your grandma's pantry since the Clinton administration. Why? Because in the dead of winter, when the power's out and the house feels like a walk-in freezer, hard candy isn't just a nostalgic treat, it's a survival tool. Here's the science. Sugar provides a quick glucose boost, which is critical for keeping your body functioning in extreme conditions. During blackouts, especially for the elderly, that sugar hit can stabilize core body temperature, calm shaky hands, and even prevent panic. The Red Cross has noted that sugar is a fast-acting energy source, particularly for seniors who may not have the appetite or ability to prepare a full meal during a crisis. One elderly woman from Maine shared that during a 4-day power outage, she survived on little more than peppermints and determination. Hard candy doesn't spoil, doesn't need refrigeration, and doesn't require any preparation. It's the ultimate grab-and-go energy source. Just unwrap, pop it in your mouth, and let it dissolve. That slow release of sugar can keep you alert, focused, and even warm when the temperature drops and your heater is nothing more than a cold, silent box. Younger folks might scoff, saying, "But sugar is bad for you." Sure, in normal circumstances, you might want to avoid it. But in a survival situation, hypothermia and low blood sugar are far worse. Hard candy is lightweight, portable, and doesn't require any special storage. Toss a bag in your coat pocket, your car, and your emergency kit. Seniors don't stockpile candy for fun. They do it because they know that in the cold, dark hours of a winter blackout, a simple piece of candy can be the difference between staying calm and spiraling into panic. So skip the gourmet chocolates and grab the big, cheap bag of butterscotch or peppermint. It's not just candy, it's survival fuel. 10. Vinyl gloves, the barrier between you and disaster. Vinyl gloves might not seem like a big deal, but when winter gets weird, they're a game changer. Seniors know this, which is why they keep boxes of them stashed in the kitchen, the garage, the car, and even their coat pockets. These aren't the fancy nitrile gloves you see in medical offices or the latex ones that tear at the worst possible moment. Vinyl gloves are cheap, stretchy, and surprisingly durable, making them perfect for winter survival. Why vinyl? For starters, they're less likely to rip when handling icy tools, frozen pipes, or sharp objects. They're also more affordable, so you can stock up without breaking the bank. Seniors use them for everything, shoveling snow without freezing their hands to the metal handle, wrapping burst pipes, cleaning up muddy slush, and even as makeshift oven mitts when cooking on a camp stove during a power outage. One senior from Michigan shared a story about using vinyl gloves to fix a frozen hose bib at 4 a.m. during a brutal cold snap. Her hands stayed dry, warm, and intact. No frostbite, no cracked skin, no drama. Younger folks might think they can just use their bare hands, but that's a rookie mistake. Cold, wet conditions can lead to cracked skin, bleeding knuckles, and even frostbite. Vinyl gloves are disposable, which means you don't have to deal with soggy, frozen mittens drying by the fire. They're lightweight, easy to store, and don't require any maintenance. Keep a box in your car for emergencies, one under the sink for household tasks, and one in your go bag for when things get messy. Seniors don't wait for the storm to hit before they prepare. They know that winter isn't just about snow, it's about the wet, slushy, and sharp aftermath. Vinyl gloves might not be glamorous, but they're practical, reliable, and worth their weight in gold when disaster strikes. 11. Matches in a metal tin fire when you need it most. Matches might seem old-fashioned, but when winter 2025 hits hard, they're a survival essential. Seniors don't rely on flimsy cardboard matchboxes or lighters that freeze in sub-zero temperatures. They stock up on strike-anywhere matches and store them in waterproof metal tins. Why? Because when the power's out and your lighter is nothing more than a cold, useless brick, matches are your best bet for starting a fire. During Alaska's record-breaking cold snap last year, temperatures plummeted to minus 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Lighters froze solid, their fuel turned to sludge, and sparks were nowhere to be found. But matches? They still worked. They lit camp stoves, emergency candles, and even tiny fires to warm frozen fingers. Matches don't need batteries, charging, or software updates. They need two things: friction and dryness. That's why seniors store them in metal tins, not plastic or paper. Moisture is the silent killer of matches, so keeping them dry is non-negotiable. Tape the tin shut with duct tape, toss in a strip of sandpaper for striking, and label it something like Fire Kit. Test one match every year to make sure they're still functional. If one doesn't light, replace the whole tin. Seniors keep these tins everywhere, in the kitchen, the car, and their coat pockets. They know that when the power is out and the temperature is dropping, a single match can mean the difference between warmth and frostbite. Younger folks might think their phone flashlight or a fancy electric lighter will do the trick, but those gadgets are useless when the grid goes down. Matches are simple, reliable, and effective. They're not just a backup plan, they're a lifeline. Don't wait until your lighter fails or your fingers are too numb to click the ignition. Stock up on strike-anywhere matches, store them properly, and be ready to make fire when it matters most. 12. A physical address book when digital fails. In the age of smartphones and cloud storage, a physical address book might seem like a relic of the past. But for seniors, it's a critical piece of survival gear. They don't rely solely on their phones to store important contacts. Instead, they keep a small notebook or even a folded piece of paper with names, addresses, and phone numbers written in pen. Why? Because when winter 2025 knocks out cell towers, and it will, your phone becomes a very expensive paperweight. No signal means no access to your contacts, no calling for help, and no Siri to save the day. AARP's emergency report found that during last year's blackouts, 71% of seniors were able to reach help using landlines or memorized numbers. In contrast, only 3% of people under 40 could do the same. A physical address book doesn't need Wi-Fi, batteries, or a touchscreen. It's a simple, reliable way to ensure you can reach the people who matter most when technology fails. Write down the phone numbers of your closest neighbors, family members, doctor, and even the local plow guy. Update it once a year and keep it in a safe, accessible place like your glove box, coat pocket, or emergency kit. Seniors know that digital life is fragile. Clouds don't work when the grid is down, and servers need power too. A physical address book might not be flashy, but it's dependable. When your phone dies and the silence feels overwhelming, that little book becomes your connection to the outside world. Don't wait until it's too late. Start writing down important contacts today. It's not just old school, it's smart. And when the screens go black, you'll be glad you took a page out of the senior's playbook.